Hello everyone and welcome to the Deep Blue Renegade podcast. My name is Molly, also known as the Deep Blue Renegade, and I'd like to welcome you guys to episode 363. Today is Saturday, April 3rd, 2021, and I'm glad you could join me today. It is sort of chilly. Sort of chilly is a relative term in which we haven't turned on the heat, but it has been a little bit cold lately, for which we will probably break down. Because it just isn't quite, or whatever, it isn't quite warm enough, or whatever. It's cloudy enough that the sun isn't warming the roof of our house and keeping our house warm. But who knows what temperature it really is inside. Good look at our mercury thermostat and figure that out. So, as a result, my feet are cold, but I'm really appreciating this hot coffee. I don't know if you can see the steam. Probably not. It's steaming something fierce right now. So, what would it be? It's been a pretty chill week this week. I don't feel like I got as much knitting done as usual, but then I look at my shawl and I'm like, never mind. What would it be? I think part of it was just that I ended up, normally I do an awful lot of knitting between Saturday and Sunday. The Dear Sweet Lovable one and I went to IKEA on Sunday, and it took a long time, and we came back empty-handed. I'm not dissatisfied with what we ended up discovering, because part of it was just actually seeing the physical thing and deciding whether or not it would fit in our life, and among the many options of whatever things that could work as bookshelves, that, what would it be? We finally figured out that we liked this one best because of how it looked, and the cheaper one looked terrible, and so it wasn't worth it. Yeah, so it's okay. So I am in the middle of a row, but I'm going to be in the middle of a row for a long time on this, so we're just going to go with it. So Tuesday was my birthday, and Jose very kindly gave me a copy of Aggregate. So Aggregate is a Jimmy Knits pattern. That is meant for DK weight yarn, but I decided that I was going to knit mine with figure eight. And what would it be? The pattern actually does have some suggestions about what to do if you are using thinner yarn, so I definitely appreciated that. So I am implementing those suggestions for this, because I do have quite a bit more yardage than the original pattern called for. So what's going on here is that you end up getting a left side, right side sort of shawl with these cool short rows in the middle, and I suppose the middle is as good a place of any to stop. So one half of my shawl is more of this golden yellow, and this is Your Daily Fiber 50/50 camel silk that I spun back in 2015. And then your other side ends up, what would it be? The other side ends up being mostly dominated by the other colors. So this is Greenwood Fiber Works Yak Silk in the Arcade colorway. The gold I dyed myself. This started off as sort of like a pale sandy color, and I dyed it yellow, and then I started to add 1 drop red and 1 drop green until it looked appropriately dirty and golden. And I absolutely love how it ended up turning out. So this has pretty significant sheen because they're both 50% silk blends, and they are very close in yardage. So I think my greens and fuchsia one, it's sort of like a dark muted rainbow. My greens and fuchsias are, I think, 602 yards, and then my gold is 611. So these were just really meant to be together. They're very drapey, they're very soft, it's very smooth and lovely feeling. Would it be? And it was definitely the case where I was not quite prepared to so when I spun this camel, it was probably a little bit beyond my ability. I think I started to spin it on my wheel and it was just totally out of control. And so what I ended up doing was spinning the first half on the single. I figured out how to grasp the camel silk, and then I spun the second half of the singles on my wheel and then plied them all together on my wheel. The yak silk I did as a spindle project. I don't remember if I got to the halfway point and then finished it on the wheel. I do make very, very lovely yarn on my spindles, but it does take a long time. So I am now working, or would it be? So I've almost done 2 repeats of the pattern at this point. So there's a section in which you have, would it be, you sort of like build out the middle. And so I'm in that building out the middle stage right now. And then what I'm doing is I'm keeping sort of the width of the outside strips the same, which isn't quite in the pattern, but I figured would end up looking pretty nice. So far so good. And the other thing that I'm doing is that instead of breaking, I'm just carrying up the edge because I figured it's pretty subtle. And I'm trying to make sure that the edge is equal bit stretchy on both sides. I think I've achieved that here. So really fun. The rows are starting to get longer now, so it's it no longer has that quick baby shawl thing, because whatever, it's a triangular shawl meant from the top down, so it's going to get longer and longer as we go. But the other thing is that, what would it be? I forgot that these build out the middle wedges are not as counter friendly. So I was working on it last night at midnight. I was like, I thought that this was going to be pretty easy and mindless, but at least for those first couple sets of short rows, that's like, you end up just like counting a whole bunch during the beginning of them. Could I fix this with markers? Maybe. And also I think I ended up doing my math wrong, so I may need to modify that for the future. Be like, really, I want X segments instead of X minus 1. So, it's okay. It's gotten lots of love this week. It's been a lot of fun to work on, and it's just very interesting to see how the colors are coming together. So this like stripe here has representation, I think, from all of the colors in this one. So there's some of the fuchsia, the green, the blue, and the yellow in the stripe. But it may be hard to tell from this distance. So we'll bring you a little closer. I don't know, the light it's overcast today. So in some ways the light is good, in other ways I think it's making everything look a little bit cooler. But, oh, and what would it be? I'm definitely getting a very, very drapey, translucent fabric with this, but it feels so good. So I am so happy with the yarn pattern match on this guy. I am, what would it be? Super duper excited that my shawl debt for Jose is not any deeper. Would it be the other potential shawl that I was going to knit was also a gift from the past as well. So the Chazarande beaded lace shawl, which, what would it be? We'll see if I end up starting that soon or not. what would it be? It's like if you imagine like slots and you have like 3 slots lined up, and so there's the whirligig thing for sweaters, the whirligig thing for shawls, and whatever, maybe like an other category. You're just watching all of my potential project ideas go flying by, be like, the Chazarande beaded shawl is definitely in the mix. What would it be? And then last night, I was looking for a sweater, because one of my friends was looking into figuring out how she wanted to spin 2 different colorways together, and so I ended up emptying out my whole entire wardrobe of knitting. And then I ended up putting it all away again, hopefully in a way where I can like easily identify like which sweater and which shawl I'm looking at. I might need to redo the shawl shelf. I think I got the sweaters pretty well down. But it ended up highlighting that I probably do have quite a few more handspun sweaters than I do handspun shawls, so this counts. And whatever, I guess I just finished handspun shawl as well, so there's that. I know, I feel like I've made some room. You can see empty space. I've not made any fiber room so far this year, but I have made some handspun room. I'm sure I've already filled that with the fiber spun, but aggregate, Jimmy knits. Really enjoying things so far. Good to go. And I have this in my lantern bag, which the graphic design was actually done by another friend. So, sheep in roller skates. So that was something that I ended up picking up as a Lambtown fundraiser because they were only able to hold a virtual event this year. So what, comparatively speaking, has received significantly less love this week, I think, is my Hinterland sweater. So this is a colorwork yoke design by Jen Steingass, who is Knit Love Wool. That was her design name. And I am very well attached right now. So I'm pulling from the outside of the balls, and I feel like a little bit of regret about this because it just is a little bit more annoying because you just have that little bit more resistance going on. So I don't know if I should pull out my yarn caddy for this one because the yarn caddy is perfect for that sort of situation. I probably should. It's just sitting right over there. So it's just like mildly annoying. Not like totally annoying. So this is low value contrast, which is why it's not like super duper pop, but it is huge hue contrast. So I have finished the pine trees, and honest to goodness, this actually sort of reminds me of some sort of terrible forest fire. But whatever, like, aren't those like cross things like look like crazy embers? I don't know. And so I am beginning the next sort of motif. It's a little bit sloggy because it's reached the point where it's actually switch color every other row. Which within like my colorwork style is definitely the case where it ends up maybe being a little bit more challenging for me because I don't hold both colors in my hand. I throw everything, and what happens when I'm done knitting a color is I drop it and I slide the stitches and I pick the next one up. So what would it be? So it'd be the case where constantly switching back and forth is a little bit annoying, and definitely the case where I can be in danger of making my floats too tight, more likely in that sort of knitting instead of, what would it be, like if I was doing like 2x2 or something like that. But I will persevere. It will be fine. And it's almost over. Almost. So would it be? It'd be the case. The other thing that I need to puzzle over is I did sit down, look at the gauge that I'm getting, calculate out what sweater size I was getting, because I'm definitely at this point probably short. I know that I'm short on row gauge, so I will need to knit a decent amount once I finish the color work chart. But also, I went with the needle size that gave me a really nice fabric. It gave me the fabric that I liked, but it was a tighter gauge than the pattern. I compensated by knitting, what would it be, a larger size? What would it be? And be the case where if it turned out there was great ease, fantastic. Like, I have plenty of yarn, it shouldn't be a big deal. However, I was like way off. So, as it stands right now, this is a 0E sweater, and that was not my intent. So I will probably end up evenly adding, what would it be? I don't know what I'm going to do yet. If I'm going to add 1 stitch for every repeat, or if I'm going to add 2 stitches for every repeat, which there's a pretty sizable number of repeats in this size. So adding 1 stitch per repeat is going to get me to my targeted measurement. Adding 2 stitches per repeat would get me to the upper end of the ease for my measurements. Or if I want to do 1.5 or something like that. The world is my oyster. But I don't know, I will. It turned out that the end game of this pattern is relying on, or would it be the case where the pattern density is such where it's a good bit harder to sneak the stitches in. Because there is a decent amount of increasing that happens. There's a decent amount of increasing that ends up happening in here, but then it stops once you get sort of into the thick of the pine trees. So I'm also a little bit concerned about whether or not that would end up resulting in, what would it be? The tight yoke problem that some designs end up having. But oh well, I may need to, or would it be? I guess I can't do that, can I? Or would it be? So there might be some looking at pictures and seeing how people are looking, how things are turning out, that sort of thing. So that is the story there. So this is Hinterland, Jen Steingas, Knit with Wool. The blue that I am knitting is Thin from Three Water Farms, so hand spun. That I, in the background blue colorway. And then my contrast yarn is Nest Fiber Studio Nestlets. They were mixed fiber in all sorts of tulip colors. So both of these yarns were my Tour de Fleece spin last year, which was fun. So really loving how everything's turning out. It's probably just a little bit more subtle on the camera than what would it be. It's just a little bit subtle, but not too crazy. But I think because it has gotten a little bit, or this, these rows right here are just a little bit sloggy, but it'll be fine. It's almost over. I'll have 1 more of these sloggy rows and it'll be okay. But I think that has slowed the wind, or slowed me down a little bit, taken the wind out of my sails for a short time. It'll be okay. It's going to be much more dense in my contrast color for at least the finish of this. And that is fine. Boy. Well, I already know I'm going to have to edit out a sneeze. But I don't know if we're starting to get into the spring allergies. There's some privacy trees along one of my neighbor's fence line, and they look like pollen 5,000 sorts of trees, so I don't know if that is going to get me or not. We shall see. Who knows? Yeah. And it's looking pretty good that today I will end up packing up the Viajante and my brioche shawl. I'm trying to remember, did I show it blocked? I blocked it. I can't remember what day I blocked it. It might have been earlier this week, so I blocked it. It is probably a little bit bigger. It is a little bit softer too. So, cool shoulder detail on accident. Not too crazy. Really entertaining to see how less far the yarn ends up going when you have those really, really big rows. I feel like I used all of the yarn to good effect. It's a good snuggle DK weight shawl. How can you go wrong? So, not too crazy there. I'm not so sure if I like the point as much on this because it isn't very pointy. So it may be the case where it will look cuter. It will look cuter sideways or that sort of thing. I don't know. Gently rotate. Who knows? I don't know. My headband's definitely trying to slide off my head, so that probably doesn't help. So, I don't know. It'll work out. I don't think what would it be. I think it'll end up being fine. It's definitely, or would it be, based on its shape, because it's just like that little bit past just straight up, and so it does lay and stay really nicely this way. So not quite long enough that you can go like old school shawl on it. That might need to be like a 4 skein shawl instead of a 3. But overall pretty happy. What is it? One of the Monday Night Neighbors was like, "Are you gonna write a pattern for that?" And I'm like, "No." There was some making it work entirely based on where I was with the yarn that I do not want to convey to less confident knitters than I. You know what I mean? What would it be? Like, there is, or what would it be? It'd be the case where I am happy explaining it to a confident go-getter sort of knitter. I'm not so sure about my abilities of explaining it to a timid, I need lots of hand-holding knitter. So, this is what happens when you end up in like I know how to design this, I know how to make it work. Like, for example, with my hinterland sweater, it'd be the case where knitting away on it, put it on, do some measurements, and be like, when I last took measurements, it looks like I was on target. When I took measurements again, it was clear I was not on target. And then I'm thinking through the ramifications of what's going to happen. I'm thinking about the ramifications of what's going to happen if I do A, B, or C. At this point, I'm sort of leaning towards once I get out of the dense contrast color section, I'll end up putting a pair of increases in. It may make some of those final floats a little mega long, but whatever. Such is life. So far it's actually, or for it being a fairly sparse and contrast colored pattern, there's only been one row where I really felt like I needed to catch floats in between. Everything else has been pretty okay. But I haven't made it to the end of the chart yet. So, that's not supposed to be fair. I don't know. These like little armchair covers, just all sorts of craziness. So I was like secretly hoping that I could finish my first set of singles last night, but apparently that was way too bold. Let's get this properly into view. I can't actually bring you closer. See if I can make this more favorable without crushing my charging cord. There we go. Charging cord out of the way. Makes sense with the charging cord. Yeah, it's not terrible. Like, doesn't this look like sorbet? Doesn't it look so freaking happy? As you know, I'm not really an orange person, but I do think that this ends up, or what would be. There are definitely times in which this like dark pink, orange, yellow triad just screams like summer and sunshine to me and represents like a happy place. I think the other thing is that my mom looks fantastic in these colors. So I am trying to not overfill the bobbin, but to get it all onto one bobbin. And so I did do a lot of spinning on this one. Is the last of my 4 1-ounce bumps of the carded sliver that I ended up making a few weeks ago. We are pretty close to being done, but it is a decent amount of fiber. But the thing is, or what would it be? The yarn carrying capacity of the very outer extents of the bobbin is way higher than the inner, just because, would it be, you're going along a longer circumference when you sort of get to this stage of the game. So I'm trying very hard to fill it as full as I can, so that I don't have to worry too much about it. And I'm filling it, I believe, in the way that is most efficient. So if I'm really trying to pack a bobbin, I'll start from the back and move my way to the front just based on where the yarn's coming out. If I go from the front to the back, the little slider ends up getting in the way. So this little slider is actually what limits how much fiber I can get on, because the flyer itself isn't, as you do. Like, I like the little plastic slider. I like this slider on the lantern because you can get very, very targeted bobbin packing with it. I was secretly hoping that I could spin the whole ounce last night during the maker meetup, which is, what would it be, like an all remote maker meetup that's been happening for about a year now. I've been participating since sometime in May, based on like my the age of my download. And it would be the case where I am what would it be? Right now, actually, what I'm leaning towards for the project is to make a true 4-ply with it. Like, I don't think I've made a true 4-ply before. So what's going to end up happening is I'll take my singles, I'll wind them on my ball winder. If that's the path I end up going, and that's going to give me like a little bit thicker of a yarn, a decent amount of fun because I'll have 2 plies of this warm color, and then I will have 2 plies of this cool color. And the way the colors are going to end up colliding will be truly random because it's just luck of the draw and the draft, basically, as to if it's going to be more white, more dark green, more light green, and more of the same on this guy. So there are sections that are more pink, more orange, and then all sorts of cool marled combinations of both. I think it's going to make a really fun yarn. But what I will do to sample is I'll just pull a couple links. I'll end up pulling just a couple of links. Or would it be I don't know, I'll probably pull like a 2-yard length of like the green and the pink, and then ply that way and see how it is I feel. Do a chain ply of that, do a chain ply of the green, do a 2-ply. You know, just basic. Nothing too crazy. I might even end up spinning it on my spindle just so that I have like nice little swatches to go from. We shall see. And I will do that process as a live, what was it? Because whatever, I've been lately documenting this process as lives on YouTube. So it'd be the case where I did a video of making some of the pink and orange bats and pulling the sliver off of the drum card that way. I did a video of spinning some of the singles for this, so not too crazy. Covering a decent amount of ground that I would normally cover in my podcast. And then I'll end up finishing off the series by doing a little live about doing a little live along the lines of figuring out how I want to apply my finish, how I want to apply my yarn. And I suppose like a part that goes into that is what like I would like to do with the yarn in the end. I think it'll be really fun. And part of it is like you don't know until you try. What would it be? Like I'm definitely thinking of some of my spin within yarns as like, is this gonna work? And a lot of times I've been pleasantly surprised to be like, yes, it does work. Excellent. But yeah, for some reason I feel like I've been spinning super duper thin lately, and I maybe like started the project trying to be like a little bit thicker, but then I just lost the thread. And like making carded sliver like this is a trick that I play myself to try to get myself to spin like a little bit thicker, but right now that's apparently not working out. Oh well. So that is the story there. So not quite there yet. I'm not sure how long it will end up taking me to wrap up the project. It may actually, like if I'm going at about like half ounce a night, I won't be done with the green this week. But I don't know, it should make a really fun yarn for sure. I'm excited about that. Let's see. But what would it be? And then having 3 more projects to go in my bin once that's done. So, excuse me. So there is still the excitement of the Lister long wool and Dorset horn combination that I'm planning on doing. And then I will have my Carl the Fog hat that I will be spinning for. And now that we are back in fog season in San Francisco, or maybe we're getting into the beginnings of fog season, or would it be The sun is making inland warmer than the ocean. And this invites Carl across. So that should be exciting. And then the grand finale, which is a beautiful blue gradient from fiber optic. So I'm excited. It should be fun. But yeah, I don't know. It should be a lot of fun to spend this fall. Looking forward to what I'll be able to create with that. Let's see. So I started a new project. I'm still pretty far away from finishing the sweater. Maybe I should, but maybe I can't. Do I have progress keeping abilities right now? It might be good to start having progress keeping abilities. I feel like I need to do like a great big giant cleanup of all of my, ooh, so many of my darning needles. Oh dear, never mind, that's okay. I was concerned for a moment that would be, so I really like these, this style of marker here. I have to get my glues in. There we go. I really like this style quite a lot. Like it's just like a nice petite little bead, and then from there, but I had one of those glass beads, but it was on a bowl, like on a light bulb style removable stitch marker. It was totally in the way. So I need to pull out the supplies and make this type of marker with it instead of the other type. But now it's under my chair somewhere, so it's lost to me. What would it be? And then I don't know if I'm going to be launching into, or if the direction my heart is taking me is to launch into a ridiculous string of Andrea Mallory patterns. We shall see. Like I've already bought two. I got them on sale, which made my heart happy. What would it be? Like we were discussing this at like Thursday night group. It was the case. So one of my friends is planning on teaching a class around the night shift series of patterns. So there's someone like in our regular group of students who wants to do like the night shift cowl versus the night shift. And there's another one who wants to do the night shift shawl, and then my friend already owns the shifty sweater. And basically, like there are 4 patterns of Andrea Mallory's which use the same stitch pattern just on different knit goods: cowl, shawl, sweater, hat. And there is no discount for buying all 4. Like Hoagie Locatelli, like if you buy a boxy like sweater, you will get a discount if you buy a different variant of her boxy like sweater. So I own the V-neck boxy, I will get a discount if I buy the bottom up boxy instead of the top down boxy. So what would it be? But the dealio is that Andrea Mallory is so freaking ridiculously popular that she can charge full price for everything and people will pay it. And there is no loss to her. But yeah, but it doesn't seem like it makes a lot of sense. So in that regard, like as a podcaster, what would it be? Like I would rather promote like designers which are less known and less popular, because I'm using my platform to call to attention really cool things. So like what would it be, like Jimmy Knits is a Black designer from England, and I think her pattern is fantastic, and I really love her aesthetic, and not everybody and everyone's dog is knitting a Jimmy Knits pattern the way people are with handicraft. So be the case where I don't want to be super mega promote like someone who doesn't need my free my free advertising. Would it be, you could probably say the same of some of the other stuff that I have hanging on the stash. Like, I know I want to use some of my hedgehog yarn for a Tina Say pattern. And be like, who's Tina Say? And be like, whatever, she, whatever, is like really awesome designer who isn't mega popular. So I know how you guys feel about that. Would it be the crayon etching sweater was one where the designer isn't, whatever, Nasuko Aito isn't like a knitting household name. You could probably say the same about Stephen West, but the thing about Stephen West is, like, he is like a super engaging designer. His patterns are fun. I want to promote that. There is no slog, or would it be, to me, there is no slog in a Stephen West pattern because they are a joy. Would it be? So, as you do. So I don't know how you guys feel about that. What would it be? Like, would it be the case where what is interesting is the journey of the project, or is what is interesting like seeing things you wouldn't normally knit up be knit? Is part of it like seeing like someone's experience with a negative popular pattern and how everything is coming together? I don't know. In some ways, I guess I'm just going to be following my inspiration no matter what, but I don't know. Or it'd be the case where I know that there are patterns or things that I end up planning on knitting, which are, would it be? Like, say, for example, like Mary Annarella. Mary Annarella pretty regularly has patterns that end up on like the top of the ravelry list. But have you seen her videos promoting her mystery cow? They're so hilarious. She is so freaking adorable. I haven't ever knit any of her shawls before. But I know I've knit her sweaters and they are superb. But yeah, no, I don't know. I'm not sure which way that ends up going. But yeah, so the other thing that's going on right now is that I am taking part in a logout on Ravelry in support for the people who've been affected by the new web design. So 9 months ago, Ravelry introduced basically a new skin. But the problem is that for whatever reason, it's causing hurt and pain to like a fairly significant number of users. I don't believe that I am personally affected, so it was a case where I had just been happily using classic Ravelry during that time. There are definitely some website mechanics features that are working a lot better on the new version. But like Ravelry has been pretty shitty about it, to be quite frank. So would it be? So it'd be the case where there are 3 different modes of Ravelry that one can use, but it's not necessarily helping everyone. And so there are quite a few people that I know who have been affected by it. So like one of my friends who lives south of me, people that I've met at SSK, would it be? And would it be various people that I end up following on Instagram? And so I concluded to participate. Would it be? It's been extended until the 6th of April, which means that I will be posting this episode on YouTube and the blog, but it'll be a couple of days before I get on Ravelry again to post it into my Ravelry group. Whatever. But I suppose that in that way, I'm trying to be like accessible and not be entirely dependent on Ravelry for getting my podcast out there, if that makes any sense. I don't know. I think I have way more subscribers on YouTube than I do members in my Ravelry group. But I think the striking thing to me is that since June, like the number of conversations that have been happening in Ravelry, especially in like the podcast groups I'm in, have like way dropped off. Like my podcast tab of Ravelry is a little bit like a ghost town right now. So, would it be like people like the Stockinette Zombies have actually moved their community entirely off of Ravelry onto Discord in order to be more accessible. And another thing that ended up being very interesting, which I guess entirely makes sense, is that the Knit Girls are planning on hosting Stash Dash off Ravelry this year. So would it be? It'd be the case where I don't know whether or not the powers that be understand that like we can't have our communities be broken up like this. Like make changes, make it work, guys. Come on. The skin. Like get the consultant in to evaluate what's going on and fix it. So it'd be the case where there's definitely been like a decent amount of tearing apart that's been going on, because it'd be the case of like, as like a knitting podcaster, you want to be able to host your community in one spot, and Ravelry isn't that spot right now. Would it be like, I am not calling for leaving Ravelry. Like it'd be the case where I would rather stay. I would rather they make the changes to make it workable. And I've tried to be really careful, because there are definitely elements of what would it be? There are definitely people who are very angry with Ravelry about like banning hate speech, and what would it be? I don't necessarily want to get mixed up with those people who are angry about that. What would it be? It's the paradox of intolerance, guys. But yeah, like I want it to be what it was, but I'm not sure whether or not we can get back there. So, and participating in the boycott is like trying to show a signal, which is like, if not everyone can be here, like this is what happens when the community falls apart in some ways. So food for thought. So I'll be up on YouTube comments and blog comments, though it's been a very long time since anyone commented on the blog that wasn't spam. But yeah, whatever. But you should be able to get at the podcast in these ways, even if Ravelry is the primary way to do that. And maybe I'll also, whatever, take a screenshot of something just to be like, hey, it's up, even though I'm not announcing in all of the usual places. So that would be, I guess that goes to like Tuesday. Yeah, that's like Tuesday. So we shall see. I don't know. Maybe like mildly annoyed that it got extended, because whatever, if it had ended today, then I could have continued on my merry way Sunday, but what would it be? Such is life. But what would it be? But it was also very interesting. I think the dynamic as well was being like, Like, why are you bad-mouthing Ravelry? Why are you attacking people? And it'd be like, would it be like, it isn't acceptable to cause like physical harm and to like comment on people being silly about complaining about that physical harm and suppressing all of the feedback about the physical harm, right? So it'd be the case where it's more like a invitation, like calling someone out to be like, do better. There are ways to do better, right? It isn't the case like, they're so terrible, but like, try. Would it be so? Would it be the case where there's been so much good that has happened because of the community? Like, don't want to lose that. Don't want to see the community totally fractured apart because of that. Like, I'd rather that we were able to pitch a big tent. So, shenanigans. So, hopefully, good things will happen. But, I don't know, it'd be the case where it was very hard that first day. It was less hard later on, but it may be the case where I'm posting more silly things to Instagram just because of not having like a nice little brain break while reading the forums on Ravelry, but instead being like, Instagram's all over, I should put up a picture. It may not be constructive. But that is a story there. So, I don't know how entirely coherent that was, but whatever, it's at the end of the episode, you can watch it or not. No anticipated changes in the coming weeks. Would it be beginning to plan travel for the future, which is super exciting. Not so sure if I need to, or whatever, how much effort is going to be involved in figuring out vaccination nonsense, but I'll probably end up going in the big convention center in San Francisco and call it good. Though there is the possibility of the one and done situation, but my stalking skills might not be good enough for that. Well, whatever. So, but hopefully I can get that taken care of pretty soon. That would be very exciting. Would it be? And it's also exciting to see more people closer to my age getting vaccinated and that sort of thing. So, looking good. Yeah. So, but at least in the immediate future, no travel is planned. So that's good. After a while, it'd be a lot of debating, or would it be? There is a possibility of making one plane flight and hitting up 3 of the 4 branches of the family on it. I'm already planning a different plane flight for the other branch. So, would it be that has been the thing that we were missing. So, both sides of my family, super exciting. Oh, so that's the story there. Should be good, but I don't know. Not like there's too much that we can do at the moment. Oh well. So with that, I hope you guys have a lovely week, and I look forward to talking to you guys next week. So take care, guys. Bye bye.